where there's no air and you don't have a breeze, and especially when you have that heat stuff, make sure that everybody's getting proper fluids, and make sure you keep an eye on people, make sure they're not going to have a heat stroke. It can be very, very serious situation. Hey, what I told Bob we were going to talk about today, last week when we did the interview, I was pretty fired up. I don't know if people could tell. I was absolutely fired up. I was pretty mad. And I said something that I should not have said. And so when we got off the air, Bob called me. He don't normally just call me back like that immediately. But as soon as we got off the air, Bob called me and he said, JJ, I don't think you should have done that. And I was like, well, what are you talking about, Bob? He said, I don't think you should have called the director a bastard. And I said, I didn't do that, Bob. I didn't call him that. And he said, yes, you did. So I went back and reviewed the last week's podcast. And guess what I did? I was shocked to find out that I did say that. I shouldn't have said that. It's not right to say that. I can have my feelings about who he is, what he's done, but I shouldn't do that. But today, with Bob being gone, what I want to do is I want to share why I was so mad. And again, guys, this is not something that happens, overnight. This is not. I didn't get mad overnight. I got mad on. It's been since he came in, and I just want to go back through what has built me up to having this kind of frustration, getting that mad over these situations. So what I want to start with is that, I was dealing with Harp before he became director of the Department of Corrections. And so my first really kind of contact with him, and I didn't have much contact through this. I'd met him, I'd said hi, and, knew he was the OMES director. But I basically, the first step that I really didn't like what they're doing, they tried to kill merit protection. They didn't try to kill it. They did kill it. It didn't get killed like they thought they were going to kill it. But he was the guy kind of in charge. And he's even told me that himself. He takes full credit for crashing the merit protection system and starting the new civil service, whatever that long, who even knows? It shows just how poor it was designed. They couldn't even come up with a good name. But here's the thing. What that did, that systematically took away all your grievances. They tried to destroy the employees, what protects employees, protection of employees. That's what merit protection was all about. So they tried to destroy it. I fought it. I come along and I agreed to vote for it because they told me that I would get to be a part, or we could be a part, not just we could be a part of setting that up to make it look like that it was, being done, or that it was being performed. And let me stop and just say, because I'm not coming in clear there. I was, hold on just 1 minute. They're going to record this and it will be on, I think. It's not live. Trying to get us live, who's trying to help me. Appreciate it very much. And so anyways, what I was saying was they told us legislators that we would get to be a part of setting up this new merit protection system, the civil service. Well, guess what? We didn't get to be a part of that. I think I went over, I can't remember if I went in, Bob went in, but we didn't, our input meant nothing. It's basically set up for the employers to be able to fire. Now, here's what's happened. They end up getting some pretty good judges, and they end up have had a big problem firing people because everybody that we've represented over there, we've won. And that's another problem I got. So he sets the system up. He sets the system up to favor the employers, to favor the state. But then when the system doesn't work for him, when it doesn't work the way he wanted it to, well, then guess what? When you win over there in the civil service once, twice, he's going to appeal it to the regular court, district court. So he's going to make you go over. So he keeps you from having a job. He's going to just wear you out with state's money, not his money, the state's money. He's going to wear you out and take you over there so that eventually you wear out and plead out, and he won't have to give you your job back. That's the whole system. And so again, one of the things I'm really angry about, we have people hired as lawyers for DOC, but we're hiring more people. So he's using much state money to represent all these people that he's tried to fire. And he comes in and he tries to fire, or he didn't try to fire, I'd say try to fire. Man, he fired great people. He walked in and fired great people. He fired his experience. He fired anybody that would talk back to him or no more. He got rid of all these people. And so, again, they've got lawsuits filed on him. I expect that they're going to win. I expect he's going to lose. Only it ain't coming out of his pocket. Guess what? That'll come out of the state's pocket. That's mine and yours. Tax dollars at work right there. So, again, one of the first things that I have problems with him was even before he got here that he set that up. Second thing, he set up Workday. He set up the way you get paid, which has been, and if y'all will remember, you remember that big fiasco mess where you couldn't get your checks and the checks were wrong and we were fighting all the time to try to help you get paid properly? Well, guess what? That's his baby. I mean, that's all him before he came. In fact, that was right about the time he had started all that, and then boom, he came. And so, think about all the fiasco that we've had with that. I still think we're going to have problems. Most of the states, my understanding, that's had that has problems. Why did we go to something so grossly dysfunctional? It seems like to me, I believe it to be dysfunctional. I think it's been a major problem. But anyways, we're talking while he was OMES director. These are the things that he did. Now, also, I was involved in a little investigation group called Swadley's. So Swadley's Barbecue. And you know what? I actually defended him in that Swadley Barbecue investigation because he had gotten married. He had planned a honeymoon. Now, here's what's even funny. Let's stop right there because I just want to go with all the problems I have. So he had a honeymoon planned, and he planned it for like right in there in May. So he gets married, I guess, somewhere October, September, I don't know, but plans the honeymoon in May. Now, he's the head of OMES. That means he's kind of over all the states. He's the CEO for the state, monies and all that. Well, guess what? You want me to tell you one of the busiest times? You want me to tell you when you're doing your budget and you get clarification on budgets, contracts, all those kind of deals? Guess what? It's right then. So why does the manager of the state take off in the most important time of the state? Plan his, you're going to wait several months and plan it right in the middle of when the most important time you're going to be there. Is that by accident? Does he do this stuff out of, is he that naive or does he plan that on purpose? I don't know, but it sure don't look good. But right here in the middle of this, we've got the Swadley Barbecue. So it was my understanding that he went in and talked to the speaker and said, hey, I will come to this hearing. I will honor your subpoena. But I've got this anniversary, or I've got my what do you call that? When you get married and you go on a trip. Anyways, whatever it is, he had that planned for 10 months. And so the speaker told him, just go on, take that trip, take your marriage trip, honeymoon. That's the word I'm looking for. Honeymoon. Go on your honeymoon and don't worry about the subpoena. So he's gone, and his assistant's in there getting hammered, and our committee is just ripping her up over the fact that he ignored the subpoena. Well, he didn't ignore the subpoena. He was told he didn't have to come. And so I stepped in and said, well, hold on. This ain't right. This is not right. The man was told he could leave. I know where, and in fact, they all said, well, Humphrey, you must be the travel agent for the whole Capitol. And I said, well, I'm trying to keep dirt on all of you. I try to keep up with every one of you. Joke, kidding. And anyways, after that meeting, I had a lot of people mad for actually trying to defend him. And I want to say this. If he does something right, I'm going to try to stand up and say it's right. If he does something wrong, I'm going to call him out on wrong. Now, since he's got to the department, his first 6 months, if you'll go back and look, I didn't say a whole lot about him for quite some time. I tried to keep my mouth shut, trying to go and work with him, I had hopes that, hey, he'd turn this around. I knew he didn't have experience. I knew he didn't have knowledge of anything, but I was hoping that he would put right people below him and get stuff turned around. Boy, was I wrong. Because, if you want to go back and look today, I think the numbers will show. I don't think we've increased in officers, getting more officers. I think we're about where we were, maybe worse. You can't get a real number. You can't get anything told to you. You can't get anything said. Now, I want to stop right there and just talk about this for a second. When I was in the Department of Corrections, we're going back quite a few years ago, probably about 16, 20 years ago, we had a deal called Facts at a Glance. It was great. On one side of the page, it talked about, it would say, how many officers did we have? It was broke down from gender, how many female, male officers, how many black, white, Hispanic, others. It talked about probation officers, how many probation officers we had. Talked about inmates, breaking inmates down, gender, white, black, Hispanic, other. It talked about minimums, mediums, community, maximum, medium, minimums, community. Talked about what each one of those costs. It had a breakdown how many people were in prison, how many people were at minimum, how many people maximum, how many people minimum, how many community, how many on probation, parole. It broke it down. It broke it down, gender, class, everything. The cost of everything on one sheet. Man, it was awesome. It was put out. Now, you know where this went? It went everywhere. You could get on computer. The average person out here could look at that every month and have a real quick view of the Department of Corrections. It was one of the best things that I'd seen them do. Now, guess what? If I call over there, chairman of corrections, and I call over and ask for something like that, ask for something that ought to be as public information as that, guess what? I can't get it. I can't get it. I would hope that he would be better than that, but he's been worse. He's been 10 times worse. And again, serious incident reports used to go out to most of your legislators, people like OCP. They put it out there. It wasn't openly broadcast like the Facts at a Glance, but it was not withheld, And so, again, I think it had a disclaimer on there saying don't share this, but we could get it. And if you were in law enforcement, if you were at DOC, you could get it. Practically anybody involved in that system could have access to that. All your serious incident reports. Guess what? You can't get those. Guess what? I would strongly suspect, because every once in a while I might sneak a peek at one or so. And what's funny, like the other day, I'm looking at one because I'm looking at an incident. So I'm looking over here and I'm seeing 027, 028. 020, or it's going backwards. It's 28, 27, 025. But then here you go. 24 wasn't there. 23 wasn't there. 22 wasn't there. Well, where I was looking for should have been one of those 3 slots. Guess what? The thing I was looking for never even reported, not reported. Well, ain't that something? And again, maybe they got a report on it somewhere. Maybe it just wasn't on this report. But again, you want to talk about looks suspicious. It looks mighty suspicious. Why I'm on that, I'd asked for a report the other day. They come back. I'd never asked for the name. I don't even know that I said a mental health inmate. I may have said, did you lock a mental health inmate in a room without shower, without water, without anything, and forget them and leave them for 3 days? Now, I asked that, and they come back, and the first question they ask, well, what was the inmate's name? Well, have you lost so many inmates that you don't even know what inmate this is we're talking about? But second, they come back and said, we're not allowed to discuss mental health. By state and federal law, we're not allowed to discuss mental health issues. Okay, well, guess what? I didn't ask them about a mental health issue. I asked, did you lock an inmate in a room improperly? Did you violate that guy's human rights? Did you forget a guy for 3 days and didn't give him food, water, shelter? Are you that inept that, and where was that on your roster? How did you clear? Because, I mean, when a guy is on your roster, you got to count him. And if you go through 3 days worth of counts and he ain't there, hello. And if you transfer him, then he should be on their roster. And if they go through 3 days of counts and he ain't there, hello, something's wrong. Now, they come back, ask a name, which is wow. Because you know they've got a serious incident about this if it happened. And then they come back and say it didn't happen, but then they come back and say, we can't tell you about mental health issues. Well, if it didn't happen, then why are you even putting that? If it didn't happen, why are you saying, I can't tell you about this issue? So you come back and say it didn't happen, but then you come back and go, well, we can't discuss it. We can't discuss what happens with mental health and due to federal state law, which is a cop-out lie because we're not asking about their mental health conditions. We're not asking about all of that. So again, that's the kind of thing that is frustrating right now, is that when I was there, all of this stuff I could look at in a glance. I could pull up, if I wanted to see whatever, I could pull up and at least get what the department was declaring. And I will tell you this, I had my differences with Justin Jones. I mean, we didn't, you go back and look, I was a Fraternal Order of Police vice president, and I represented lots of people, and along with my president, and I was second vice president, and there was a guy, Danny Pickin, that was first, and then we had a guy, Ray Aldridge, and then we'd had John Roberts, all good guys. And guess what? We all got labeled as troublemakers, as people who fought the system, because we stood up for our employees. And we did fight for our employees and won a lot of big battles, but then they want to label me a troublemaker. But that's where I learned how to find all this out. But we could go on there and we could look on that and man, we could find out everything. But guess what? You can't. And I was told that they're making people sign a non-disclosure to go over there, like legislators sign that. I don't know if that's true, but sign a non-disclosure. Like, I'm a legislator, I got to go over there and ask you for something that they used to put out to everybody public every month. And I got to go over there and ask you, and I will tell you, I wouldn't believe nothing they say. The only reason I asked the department is to get what they say, to establish what they say. Then I go back to try to see, is what they're saying today true, or can I prove they're a liar? That's how I do everything, because what they have said has been so untrue so many times. And when you take a witness stand, if you get up on witness stand, you're a law enforcement officer and you lie, guess what? Your credibility is no good after that. It's no good. Guess what? I've caught them lie after lie after lie. Their credibility is no good. Their credibility is no good. His credibility is terrible. It's terrible. And again, so just kind of going back, he started the work day. He destroyed merit protection. He owns both of those. He had problems with Swaddley Barbecue. If you want to go back and look, there's a lot of problems in COVID. I can tell you, money missing in COVID, some other problems like that. So in my opinion, he was a disaster over there. So they had to sneak him out the back door. and put him over here where he had no experience. How do you put him in? No experience, no training, no nothing that would qualify him to be this. Nothing. And they move him over here. Now that was offensive to me because we had so many problems. I didn't like that, but I kept my mouth shut and tried to work with him for a while. But here's I'm fixing to get into stuff that really starts becoming personal to me. All this so far, not as personal. It's just business, But right off the bat, he comes and he tells Bobby Cleveland that he ain't working with Bobby Cleveland and he's not going to work with the OCP. Now, my problem is what he's saying is he has no respect for the employee association, which means he has no respect for employees. And so he's telling us, I ain't going to work with them. I'm not going to work with you. And so, again, right off the bat, he established a conflict between him and the employee association, and that he's not going to listen to employees telling him what he needs to do. Now, that's his attitude. And I know this for fact. Now, I mean, this is not a question. I'm not mistaken. This is what he said. Okay. And then roughly, 6 months or so into his leadership position as director, him and several others come to me and they basically say that if I'll kick Bob to the curb, that they could work with me, but they ain't going to work with the association or Bob. And I'm like, you never tried to work with the association or Bob. And so after that, what happened, they told me this. They said, well, we can always go to Scott Everson and start working with Scott Everson. Well, here's the deal. They said they didn't want to work with the association to OCP, but now they're going to turn around and say, well, we could go to Scott Everson. And here's the deal, Scott, in case you're listening, they even laughed. They were laughing how they could run you. That was their whole deal. They were laughing how they could run you, which is exactly what they did. So what they did, they went and got the board who, again, every one of them, they could run them by offering them some little favor for them. I figure, I don't know. I can't say what they offered or didn't offer, but I suspect that they offered them a better position, or just the fact that they got to feel really, big, got the big head that they're going up there and get to meet with the director. Now, that would be okay. I'm okay if Scott would have met with the director to help the association. But guess what? Scott puts out a text to somebody and says, hey, the director wants to have a meeting, but he wants you not to tell Bobby Cleveland. Keep this from Bobby Cleveland. Now, we've got that text. So what that shows you is the director is running Scott. He's running Scott. And then you turn around and the next little bit, Scott's doing everything that is opposite what would help OCP. He's not doing what would help OCP. So, I don't know. I don't hate Scott. I'm not against Scott. I hope Scott would do what's right for the people, for the association, but again, when he took us off the air without proper, going through that, he prevented lots of things that he shouldn't have, in my opinion. And again, it wasn't good. I'm not mad at Scott. Scott got played. I'm mad at the director because the director intentionally, Scott, what I'm saying may hurt your feelings, man, but I'm telling you, you got played. They told me that's what they laughed about you. They laughed about you, son. And I'm telling you the truth, and I'm telling it just as flat out right as I can. This is what makes me mad about this director. This is what I don't like. So then this director is going to steal what we're trying to do with OCP Live. He's going to kill OCP Live with us, get Scott to kill it. Then he's going to start his own. Well, how'd that work out, director? It didn't work out very good because you don't have it no more, is my understanding. You don't do that because guess what? The people weren't kissing your honey like you expected it to happen. And what they did was they ended up writing in all the problems. and this little open deal to let everybody speak all of a sudden become a nightmare to you. So guess what? You just ended it. But before you ended it, here's what you did. You went and got out my employment record. Now, really, I ought to sue you on this, Director. I ought to sue you because it is your job to protect a person's employment record. You cannot go out and put people's employment record out in the public. You surely can't go on a video and tell everyone that I was always a problem. So you're going to talk about my disciplinary record and say that I was always a problem? I will tell you this, I was, because I stood up to the administration. I want to encourage all of you employees, guess what? Don't let them run over you. I was a problem. Yes, I was a problem, but guess what? I got my district 10 new cars. I got my district 10 assistants. So assistants, I got my district all kinds of things. And guess what? They were going to try to fire me, and they backed up on it 2 or 3 times. And guess what? They tried to investigate me. They backed up on that. You know what? They tried to go after me. They never got me because I did what's right and I documented it. And guess what? You can do the same thing, and you can turn your place around just like I turned it around. And that's what inspired me to go on to run for legislator as I am. It's because I learned all that. Stand up for yourself. All you employees, get together. Join OCP. Become a voice. Change it. Let's make DOC what it used to be. Let's make DOC the place you'd want to come to work, where you want your sons and your daughters to come to work, and where we had a family like we used to. Hey, we still get together. The group I worked with, man, we're like family. They are like family to me, and I'm like family to a bunch of them. Guess what? That's what ought to be being encouraged, not the stuff that he's doing. And so again, he goes out with my record, my disciplinary record. I was always trouble. He says that I never promoted. Well, I started as a cadet. Guess what? I promoted to Officer 1. Guess what? That's a promotion. Oh, no, that's not a promotion. Yeah, that is a promotion. You actually get a step-up raise. You get a promotion saying you're doing your job right. But then I actually applied and got probation officer. I had to go interview in front of a whole panel. And I ended up getting that job. That is a massive promotion. So then I moved from Officer 1 to Officer 3. And then I moved from Officer 2 to Officer 3. So 1, 2, 3, I was promoted up. Now, I would have had to probably go back into the institution or move to promote anywhere else, because at the time we didn't have a team supervisor there. We got one right towards the end, which was a political favor. And again, we got one right at the end, and they created one. They weren't going to create it for me, I can promise you that. I had opportunities to go back into the penitentiary and work. I didn't want to. My wife worked as a teacher. I had property and cattle. And so for me to move would have been a decrease in pay, an astronomical decrease in pay. And I just couldn't do that. So I stayed right where I was at. Not that I couldn't have promoted. It's just I did promote to about 5 positions. But to stay where I wanted to stay and live where I wanted to live, guess what? I had no promotion. The shame on the Department of Corrections for not working with people and promoting them where they live and work. But here's the deal. That's the way it was. I'm not mad about that. I made a conscious choice. But for him to go out and say I was trouble and the reason I didn't promote was because I was trouble. Now, here's what's funny. They picked me to go to Arizona, one of the 6, I think, individuals to train in the high intensity program. Guess what? Who did they send on that? Well, am I so sorry that they send on that? I was also a DARE officer, trained in DARE officer. Guess what? I think I was the only one for the Department of Corrections on that. So for them to say that I'm a terrible employee, wow, that's really amazing. And so for them to say that I never promoted is an absolute sorry lie. And that he got on there and said that. But biggest that he got on there just because he's got such a personal hate for me that he would get on there and violate that employee confidence. and illegally, in my opinion. I think he's civilly liable. I think I could sue him and probably win. But who cares? But here's the deal: for him to have that kind of animosity, so he gets up in front of the academy. I'm told. I had several people say that he openly at an academy graduation called me and Bobby Cleveland assholes. Again, that's fine. I didn't come out and get all crazy on that. That's fine. But what I'm showing y'all, this is not an overnight me getting mad. I made a statement on him that is wrong. I should not use that language. I'm apologizing to you. I'll apologize to him because I shouldn't act like him. Acting like him doesn't make it right. I'll apologize to him. I'll apologize to you because I was wrong using that kind of language. Not good. And I need to watch what I say. I was unaware that I said it. And so it's wrong of me. I can't make it right. I just want to I want you to understand what's driving me crazy. What makes me so mad is how this guy hides behind the governor and hides behind his position that he's not qualified and that he's doing terrible. So he called me that. He lied about my record. Now we're going out and we're showing things like rape. We put together this packet of rape. They fired the psychologist that showed this. We won twice in court, showed that they wrongfully fired her. They lost twice in the civil service court. But does he hire? Nope. We're going to appeal that and then go spend massive money to appeal it. Okay. We put together and they come back and say, oh, the AG did an investigation. The AG never talked to that psychologist. The AG never talked to me. Now, me and that psychologist put that report together. How do you conduct an investigation and never talk to the reporting parties? That tells you they didn't investigate. That's a lie. That's a lie. So the director's up there lying that it's been investigated. And they're in cahoots and working. He comes out later and says, well, the AG supports me. And he says that I'm jealous because I didn't get his job. Let me tell you on that. They asked me to put in a resume. The governor never would meet with me one-on-one to discuss what I want. I will not go to work for somebody that we're not on the same page. Guess what? Governor never would meet with me. So guess what? I never put in a resume. So how can he say I'm mad about not getting that job? I didn't even put in a resume. So he goes out on public television, says all of these agency heads and the AG is behind him, and that I'm just a big fat idiot, more or less, and so, and I'm mad because I didn't get his job. That's the farthest from the truth. And again, if I wanted that job, I would have put in a resume and tried to get that job. Now, would I mind being director? Absolutely not. But if I was director, we would be number one in the United States, not number last. We wouldn't have the worst numbers in the United States. We wouldn't have the worst numbers in the United States. We would be working on becoming number one, and our goal would be to become number one, not top 10, number one. And so again, you do that by working with people, do that by working with your staff. Your employees are your most valuable asset. When you realize that, you've got a job to be professional towards inmates and carry out your duty, which is protect the public, which is protect the employee, protect the inmate in that order. And so again, he doesn't understand that. You could tell when he moved the greatest motto we ever had out and said, we change lives. When he says we change lives, they do. For the worst, it looks like. They ain't changing them for the better. He's sure. I don't see where he's doing it. So anyways, back to why I'm so mad. He goes out, he does all this, he says all this, and then I'm trying to put together this rape deal. So when we don't get an investigation, I call for a hearing. I ask our speaker to subpoena him and some others to come over, mainly the one they claimed investigated. You want to talk to the main investigator. Hello, that's just common sense. He never responded back. And so again, and I'm running out of time, so I'm going to have to speed up. So he never responded back. They didn't allow me to subpoena. He didn't bring the investigator. The the lady that's over their general counsel showed up, rudest lady ever seen, and she wouldn't answer any questions, and then start screaming, wanting to answer a question after we dismissed her, and lied. And I proved she lied right there in the hearing. You can go back and look at hearing proof. She lied, wouldn't answer questions that were obvious questions that were already been answered, wouldn't even talk on them. So again, the Department of Corrections refused to bring people that we requested. Our leaders wouldn't subpoena. So again, then I catch them put people in showers. I get reports, not from them. I didn't get a report from them. I got reports from an outside source. I call them and tell them I didn't call them, put it in writing. You got a problem. They come back and lied because I know they had these reports. So they knowingly, willfully lied and said it's not happening. Then when I put it out to a reporter, oh, yeah, it happened, but here's how it happened. We were just moving people. You don't transport people and leave them 3 days in a cell, transporting them inside the same penitentiary, walking them from one cell to the other, and we had to hold them for 3 days. Come on, man. That's, in Joe Biden's words, come on, man. Come on, But here's the deal. When we did that, well, then the other day I'd come out with, what's going on with this inmate that they locked in the cage for 4 days. Well, then they come back. We can't discuss it. It's ongoing investigation, which is their answer for everything. They don't respond to anything. Remember when he shot the floor? Guess what? He shoots his own floor. And again, then I'd found out that he's carried guns into the prison. I found out he left a loaded shotgun in the back seat, let inmates clean it. All of these would have got you or me fired. I mean, in 5 seconds, we'd be out the door. At the same time, they had a lady they was going after who ate pizza. In one of the inmate functions, they had come in with a bunch of pizza, my understanding, and she ate a piece off the inmate that everybody was in there eating. No big deal, but they're going to try to fire her for that when he gets to shoot his floor. So I asked him, provide me the records to show that you're properly qualified to carry that weapon. I want to know what weapons are you carrying. I want to know, have you been qualified? I want to know what gives you the authority to carry it. I want to know when you misfired your weapon, did you follow protocol, go get a drug test, all that. Legitimate questions. Guess what? Refused to answer. I've asked him, he got a $90,000 raise. I've asked him to verify where that came from. I want to see, because by law, he can't give it himself. The governor, the legislators, or the board has to give it. The board and legislators haven't done it. So if the governor did it, I just asked for the proper paperwork. All that should be public. Guess what? Won't even respond. Not that he won't give it to me. He won't even acknowledge that I called him over there and asked for it half the time. But then the other day I'm asking for something a little while back, and they say, well, you put out non-public information. My question, what was that? What is that non-public? Well, I suspect they're talking about what I put out on the showers. Well, guess what? I didn't get that public. I didn't get that from them, so they can't say that I released non-public information. Didn't get it from them. It was out in the public. So again, that's a lie. That's a lie. So they come out and say that and said, well, we had a meeting and you can't have this, and the only way you can get it is if you come over here and view it and sign a non-disclosure. Well, the first time they told me that, I was kind of like, nah. Well, the other day when I'm asking about this person that was in the room, that they locked in the room, allegedly, they say they didn't. I don't believe them. But they said, if you want to see anything, you can come over here, and we have an agreement with House leaders. We have agreement with House leadership that you are to come over here. You're to see that and sign a non-disclosure on anything. But now here's the deal. What infuriated me, because I just found that out Friday when I went on. I was just reading it, and here's why I was mad. One, who is House leadership that they're going to make a deal for me? They didn't include me in that deal. So if House leadership, and I don't even know that House leadership did this because they're such liars, who knows if it's true or not. But they're saying that they had some secret meeting. So let me get this right. The director is going to try to destroy OCP by having secret meetings with the president going around it, everything, try to destroy it. We have records show that. He's going to get away with everything and nobody hold him accountable, including getting an office without authorization, downtown office, major pay, supposed to have legislative approval, never got it. Again, all these laws being violated, firing people and hiring his best friends over at OMS who have no experience. All of this going on, nepotism, favoritism, all the isms. I mean, this guy is unbelievable, unbelievable. And yet when I try to do anything, I can't get a subpoena, which I'm supposed to have power to do it. Then we find out they're supposed to be having secret meetings to say that I can't have it unless I go over there and look at whatever they show me, which is probably going to be not a whole lot, which would probably be a lie if they do show it to me. And then I have to sign an agreement that I can't tell nobody. I'm a legislator. Who is this bureaucrat, untrained, unqualified, overpaid bureaucrat, that he's going to make meetings? And who is it that's in government that is so misguided that they would go over to this person who's violating all of these things openly? And there've been report after report after report. Now, all of that was why I was so mad. All of that was why I was fired up. Man, I am fired up. And so here's what I want to say, and we're pretty close. I'm needing to wrap it up. I could go on. Man, I could go on with all the kind of stuff that he has done that is just unbelievable. I'm looking into his travel now. He's gone all the time. I asked him about ACA. Director, answer me on the ACA. He ain't answered me back to my knowledge again. So again, are you going to ACA when we don't belong to ACA? Are you going and traveling and getting, are they paying you? Are we paying you? Why are you not around when we're in such shambles and things are bad and you're traveling all the time? It's a legitimate question. It's public information. You're not spending your own money. You're spending your money. I mean, our money. It's not your money. It's our money. So again, he's supposed to answer to us, the legislators. He's supposed to answer to you, the public. You, the employee, you're the public as well. You know, he may be your boss, but he's got bosses too, and he acts like he doesn't. He acts like he's above the law. And so again, the thing here's what just infuriates me is I would love for people to see the number of extortion reports I get, the number of people raped. Last week we talked about a young man who's in there for, again, he messed up. I think he got a DUI and hurt somebody, while he's DUI. But guess what? He's not a killer. He's not a bad guy. I mean, how many people could that have happened to? How many people's got out there and drove drunk? And that could have been them, And here's this guy now having a young kid, having to be raped, having to be extorted, and just wants to give up on life and ends up killing himself. How about the guy in Harp who was close to getting out and now is dead because he refused to quit paying extortion money, and all of a sudden he hanged himself. Now, he may have hung himself because he's tired of them extorting his family. I don't know. But I know when you end extortion money and you end up dead the next day, that don't look good. That's suspicious. What do you want to bet? They don't get to the bottom of that. What do you want to bet that we don't hear much about the deputy warden bringing in drugs and having the person that was fired that shouldn't even been on property bringing in drugs and all the drugs that was coming into that facility? What do you want to bet that gets swept under the rug? What do you want to bet that this, if we don't successful on lawsuits, hey, that's sweet, sticking people in 2x2 cells, human rights violations that we have the documents to show. It wasn't done for transport. He's got the documents to show by his own employees that it was done for punishment. They were told it was done for punishment. He's got that document. Now he wants to say, well, JJ can't come over. He released non-public information. Well, the information I released, I got from the public, but the information he's talking about is information where they lied. And I mean big time lied over human rights violations. Again, let him get all the calls. He don't receive nothing. Let him get all the calls that I do on the rapes and just the maimings. And again, this is what makes me mad it's not the fact that he called me an ass. I don't care if he called me an asshole. I could care less what. I have no respect for this man. So whatever he says about me doesn't bother me a bit. I got zero respect. But I'm better than I shouldn't say what I said last week. And I'm going to openly apologize for saying that. I shouldn't say it. I apologize to the people that heard me say that. I shouldn't do that. I'm better. And let me tell you something. I don't know if Kathy's watching, gets to watch this week, but we got a lady named Kathy. And again, she sent word back that, JJ, you're better than that. Don't stoop to their level. So guess what? One of the reasons I decided to do this today is because I respect Kathy. I do. I respect Kathy. If you're listening, I respect you 100%. You were one of the best people I've worked around at the Capitol building. And so I have a massive amount of respect for her. So when she tells me that I was wrong and I need to make it right, guess what? I'm here listening to her saying, okay, I got to make it right. And I got to get out and apologize and say, I got to watch my mouth. But I do want people to understand this is not about him having a personal vendetta to me. This is not about him stealing money that I think he is. This is not about him being unqualified and not being in a position and firing people who do not need to be fired so he can hire his cronies and that they can rob our state with playing these little games. It's just fun to them. This is just house making to them. And they'll stay for 2 or 3 years and then they'll go leech off somewhere else. And again, this is what upsets me is we were going to have this administration that stops this and they become the worst I've ever seen in 35 years of my career of being around Gene Stipe and the bunch that they used to talk about that was so bad at this. Gene Stipe could not hold a candle to these people. This guy is the worst I've ever seen by far, by miles, hundreds of miles, worst bureaucratic offender I've ever seen who needs to go. And again, like I say, $90,000 raise that he will not verify. That looks like embezzlement. He will not verify. If he'll verify it once, I'll shut up. How many times I've said that, but he won't verify it. Won't even talk about it. I know because he's scared. He's scared of it. I'm going to tell you, he's scared of it. That's what he knows. Guess what? Got the building without verifying it, without doing legislative approval. That's wrong. Shot the floor and will not verify that he's even qualified to carry the gun or that he passed any kind of qualifications, which should be public. Didn't show that he went through the proper training. Didn't show that he went through the proper anything. We have rapes. We have all kinds of things. They go out and falsify numbers. We've got proof of that. I've got proof of that. They fire somebody because they think that's who I got it from. And again, they just fire anybody they think is against them. And so I can't believe who this person is. And when I talk about that, but what makes me the maddest, what makes me mad enough to cuss, and I did the other day, is the fact that this sucker uses his political influence to go over and get leadership to allow him to continue violating all of these things that I'm talking about. And that they make some kind of secret deal, if that deal was made, but that they would go behind my back, throw me under the bus, and go over and meet with this guy that not 2 years ago, they were all after and cussing him like a dog. This is what's funny. But during that SWAT Leads deal, man, they were after, and they were mad. They were mad because I protected him on something that was right to protect him on. I'd throw his butt in jail if I could prove that he did something wrong. That's fine. Anybody else, I put more people in jail than probably anybody up there. But again, it was for the right reasons, never for the wrong reasons. And again, I wouldn't wish jail on nobody. I don't wish jail on nobody. And I spent my life trying to keep people out of jail, not trying to put them in there. Had to put a lot in there. A lot of them were hell bent on going in. But, I don't want to put nobody in, including, I'm not, I don't care if, I think it would be poetic justice for him to get to go down there and sit in a 2x2 cell. I think that would be poetic justice, but I'm not out to do that. But I am out to say that when people are being extorted, people are being raped, people are being stabbed, People are being murdered at rates we've never seen. And then they'll come and say, we got the best numbers ever. That's a lie. That's a lie from the pit of hell. And we had to call him out on it. And when our administration, when our supposedly leadership at the Capitol go and allow and have meetings to stop me from doing my job, that's frustrating. And that's what I was mad about. That's what I talked about on him. That's why I said what I did. Now, I want to end right here with saying I was wrong. I should not have called him. I called him a bastard. I shouldn't have done that. But I want you to know why I said what I said and why I'm angry as what I am. And I am still angry, and I am still believing that I'm 1,000% right on everything that I laid out. And again, I could go on 2 hours laying out all the problems. We hadn't even got into all of the rapes and all of the murders and all the reports where they said that I was false. How about the riot that happened down there in Lawton where 30 people were injured, 2 were dead, and I called it a mini riot, and they come back and said I lacked institutional knowledge, and it wasn't a mini riot, it was a group disturbance. How stupid is that? How stupid, and that they get away with that kind of stupidity, and that my administration in the House would go over and meet with them to allow them to get away with all of this is infuriating to me if that happened. Now, that's what they claim. I will be calling out our leadership to see if that's true again. But the fact that that's what they keep using and accusing and lying on me, and they know it's a lie, is what I'm at. They knowingly, willfully tell vicious lies, and they knowingly keep a lot of human rights and civil rights violations from coming out by lying, and now they're working with our administration to cover it up. That makes me mad. And if that's true, I will expose every one of them. I'm going to expose every one of them. I'm not up there for our House leadership. I'm not up there for the Director Harp. I'm not up there for anybody. I'm up there for the people of the state of Oklahoma, and I'm going to expose corruption everywhere I can. They're after me right now trying to say I've done something unethical, which is hilarious. And we're going to go back and we're going to show them to be systematic liars, the ones who put that out. In fact, even in their whole title was a vicious lie. And I'm going to see if I can sue some of these people. I'd like to get an opportunity to sue some of these people and it is time that we call out the liars, the cheats, the crooks. And that's what I'm going to be about. I'm calling out the liars, cheats, and crooks. And so I want you to stand up, join OCP, join us. We want to help you. We want to make this agency strong. The way we do it is by banding together. It's the employees that will make this. You are the backbone of DOC. You are the heart and soul of DOC. Let's stand together. Let's get our agency back, and let's become #1 in the United States. Let's do that. Again, you do that by calling him out. So appreciate every one of you. Love every one of you. God bless.